What's up, everybody? My name is JJ. Welcome to the Revival. Today we're talking Super Metroid. Alright, so being a newcomer to the series, I have not really had much experience with any games other than two that I played on the original Game Boy. And I don't even hardly remember any of it. I just remember owning it when I was a kid. But then I played Super Metroid recently, and that was because it was, it'd been recommended to me for years, but more recently recommended to me by my friend Cameron, who I actually went to high school with, hadn't seen in, 13 years, something like that, easily. And then I think you had reached out to me on Twitter when you saw that I went to Mo GameCon.
Yeah.
And then we kind of just talked a little back and forth. And then, funny enough, you won the contest for the NES Classic. And I told him, I was so thankful when I saw your name come up because I knew that you were a collector and stuff. And I was like, oh, it's going to go to good home, thank God. So, and then we, instead of me mailing it to you, because you live relatively close, we just met up and I handed it to you there and we talked a little bit, talked about Metroid and let's do a video. Hell yeah. So, you are a Metroid fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big time. I am getting there. I hesitate to say that I'm a fan because all I've really played is Super Metroid. That's kind of what we're talking about today. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do a video where we kind of go over the game a little bit. I've actually got a separate review coming out that I'm doing on my own that's going to be official. But I really wanted to kind of do a little conversation as far as a newcomer and a veteran and kind of our experiences. So tell me a little bit about what got you into Metroid when you first started? I mean, not even necessarily Super Metroid, just Metroid in general.
So I got into Metroid in general off of my older brother. My older brother bought an NES when we were kids, and me and my younger brother played it together and liked the game. Never really got too far in it because it was too hard for us on the original NES. And then in '94, in the summer, my older brother got us Super Metroid, and my little brother and I spent the entire summer playing that game all the way through, from start to finish. That's literally what we did. We'd go outside and play, go in there, play Super Metroid for a little while.
There's no way you just did one playthrough all summer, though, right? You had to play multiple times, no? Because it's not a super long game.
You have save points in the game, so we were able to just save our progress and come back. So it wasn't one sitting that we needed. But
was it all just one save file that you played the whole way through? So you actually didn't start over and all that stuff. You actually was we're taking the summer, exploring every nook and cranny in this thing, and it is a short game, and there's a hell of a lot to explore. I was telling you before we sat down, I was blown away because I felt like I did so much. I played it blind. And it took me 7 hours to beat, but once I got done, it said I had 60%, and I was like, "Holy crap! What did I miss? This is crazy." So what's as far as since you started with the first one, how does that compare and contrast? Is it a pretty major jump from the first one to this one?
From gameplay and style and everything, it's a major jump. Now, when they came out with Metroid Zero Mission for GBA, it was a reimagining of the original one, and just went back and fixed all of the mechanics that weren't right in the original one. The original one is still fun to play, but it doesn't hold up as well as it does on the GBA remake of it.
Okay. Interesting.
And the GBA remake kind of feels like it's a better companion to Super Metroid because the gameplays are very similar.
But it's still the same map and
yeah, nothing's changed, it's just upgraded graphics.
Interesting, because normally, I'm actually surprised to hear you say that, because most of the time when I talk to somebody about should I play the original or should I play the remake, they're all like, oh, I'll go for the original, because they're purists about it. When I played Silent Hill 2 for the first time, I was told, stay away from the re-release for it, just play the original one, because he gave me a handful of reasons as to why, and that's typically what I get, so that's interesting to hear you say that. Going into it, I was so worried about all the backtracking that I was going to have to do, which I totally get coming from a JRPG fan where a lot of it's just repetitive grinding, especially the older games and everything. But I don't know. I think for me, I feel like that actually is fine because even though I'm grinding and stuff and it's repetitive, I'm actually getting somewhere. I'm making progress. I'm making my character stronger. I'm getting money. I'm trying to improve abilities, whatever. My biggest fear was going into this and being like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to look around for where to go next and everything. And I was really surprised at how little that even stuck out in my head. Like, because you go to so many places and you'll see a place you can't get to and you'll remember it in your head. And then all of a sudden later on you'll get some item where it's like, oh crap, now I can go back and get that one thing. And you're actually excited to backtrack and go find out what was up there. And I thought that was just so well done. It makes me kick myself for not playing it, when I was younger, because it would have been really cool to play back then.
Yeah, it does a great job of foreshadowing. I think the best thing about that game is the feeling of isolation while you're playing the game. You feel like you're off by yourself, and just the music plays really, really well with the game and the atmosphere that you're in at the time, just to build the level of suspense and what's going on.
Absolutely. The I also like and you had told me about that boss, because you're like, oh, did you beat this one guy? And it was the one that you told me where he electrocuted or something like that. Yeah. Because I was like, yeah, I sucked, man. It took me like 2 or 3 times to do it, and you're like, oh, it's a really easy way to do it, and I was like, cool.
So for those that don't know, when you fight Dragon, if you have the grappling beam, you shoot out the little missile pods that are in the room. There's 4 missile pods that spit stuff at you. You shoot those off, and you let him grab you, and you keep hitting your grappling beam, and if you can grab onto it, it'll electrocute him and kill him in like less than 10 seconds.
I wasn't sure what you meant when you first explained it to me, and when I looked it up, I was like, that was it? I could have, oh my god. Because, I was bashing my head against the wall, because I couldn't even figure out how to hit him at first. But, that's the price you pay for playing it blind for the first time. It's
well, and I can tell you, the first 10 times I probably beat that game, I didn't know that. You kind of just learn stuff. Every time that you play this game, you learn something new. That's why I still keep playing it to this day. I mean, literally on this last playthrough, when you were doing yours and I was doing mine, I was finding stuff that I had never seen before in the game, and I've beat it at least 10 plus times.
Jeez. So have you 100%ed it before?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Alright, interesting.
I'd tell you to 100% it. Your time's not going to be that great, though.
No, especially if I'm doing it blind. No way, because I'm going to be shooting every wall and trying to figure out where to go and stuff. I was just really blown away by how unfounded all of my worries were, because it genuinely, and how well it holds up. Like, it's, a lot of Super Nintendos are, I'm not going to say rough around the eyes, but I mean, it's, you're compared to what we're used to today, it's tough for a lot of people to go back and play these older games. I'm a retro gamer, so it doesn't bother me or anything, but even looking at it from a lens of, like, comparatively to newer games, like, I could see this, maybe a little bit more polished, coming out with like, some of the indie games we have now. They don't look that different. And this it holds up so well, and it looked great on my big TV. I played it on the SNES Classic, because, like I said, I've never owned this before. And I was just blown away by how beautiful it still looks, how diverse all the environments were on this one planet. It was just, I had a good time with it. I really did, and I'm just so happy that I had such a good time with it, because I've been so hesitant to play it all this time for those stupid reasons. So I don't know, it's crazy. So as far as moving forward, what I think I remember you telling me this was your favorite game in the series, right?
One of them, yeah.
One of them. Okay, so what would be a good next step? Would it be a good idea for me to go back to 1, or play the remake of 2, or?
The remake of 2 is phenomenal. So that again, it's like the same thing with Zero Mission. It just goes back and fixes all the mechanics in those original games that they just didn't have the ability to do at the time. And it really takes it and puts it on the level of Super Metroid. Okay. Just as far as graphical and gameplay style. I mean, I feel like that 2 is a vast improvement upon it. I mean, it's not as good as AM2R, which was a fan-developed game of Metroid 2. But it's still really, really good.
Okay. And then how about the Prime games? Where do those fit in?
They fit in pretty good. I mean, they're decent games. I am more of a purist. I like the 2D still. I mean, the Prime games for what they are great. I mean, the only game in the series that obviously everybody knows has been panned as bad is Metroid Other M, and even that gets a bad rep to an extent. I mean, they just kind of weakened the character of Samus in the game.
Okay.
And that's really my only main gripe with it, was just how they made her seem weak. And I don't like the fact that the whole game, throughout the entire franchise, has been built upon exploration. And in that game, like, you pretty much have to ask for permission to get anything. So it's a huge departure from Super Metroid and the other Prime games. Pretty much every other Metroid game that's ever been made.
That's interesting. It sounds like you're actually a lot like how I am with Zelda. Like, I love the 3D and the newer Zelda games and stuff like that, but I prefer the top-down, original, old-school Zelda. To me, those are the Zelda games that I grew up with, that I like. Not the new ones are bad, I just prefer the old ones, but I think the new ones are more popular.
Well, I tell you, I've played through all the Prime games at least once, but I mean, I literally still go back and play Zero Mission and Super Metroid almost every year.
Wow. Okay. I think I'm glad you brought up Samus, because I thought I've always known about the whole thing, like when it was first released and you beat it a certain way, the original, and then she takes off the helmet and you see the hair blowing and whatnot, and like, oh my god, it's a woman. I always thought that was like such a neat thing and such a cool surprise, especially for the time. Because that was unheard of back then. I think everybody just went into it assuming like, oh, this is a badass dude just, shooting aliens and stuff, and then that happens, and it was like...
So they actually got their inspiration from the game based off the Alien movies itself, like the original Alien movie. That's kind of where they kind of formulated the idea a little bit from that.
Cool.
And in the original one, there's a code you can do to where you don't even have a suit on. You get to see that Samus is a girl right away.
Interesting. I did not know. That is so cool. That's just, it's like, I mean, obviously I don't want to get like political and stuff like that, but I just think that's a really, really cool thing that they did, especially for the time period, because it was not something we were used to back then.
No, I mean, she's pretty much the first female, hero in a Nintendo game ever.
Absolutely. And to this day, she's still, touted as a badass.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, you players are in Smash at all? Yeah.
Pretty much always. And I'm excited for the new Smash. I want to play as Ridley. Ridley's like one of the main antagonists throughout the entire series.
That was I was surprised to see that in there. Like I want to see Ridley in action because the size.
He's quite a massive scale character.
Right. That's why I'm like they're gonna piss some people off because there's gonna be something to do with like, well, he doesn't seem as intimidating or something. Like they'll find something to complain about. I thought it was a really, really interesting choice though that they put him in there. It is a him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know, but cool, man. Do you have anything else to say about any of the games? Any recommendations? Where should I go? I know you said Metroid 2 would be a good one, but if you were like just explaining to somebody else, if I hadn't asked, where would you say go here next?
Go Zero Mission. Absolutely, go Zero Mission. Because that's going to lay the groundwork for the entire game series. Like, it pretty much lays everything out for you. You get a little bit of the storyline and backstory. And that's a good thing with Zero Mission that the original one didn't have. It didn't really tell much story. Like, yeah, it gave you the little opening message at the beginning.
Right. And
a little bit of stuff at the end. But, like, throughout this game, and as you progress, like, you're learning more about the character. You're learning more about, like, her upbringing, her background.
Interesting. I will say that in Super Metroid, as unfortunate as this is, I was not like, I didn't really care about the story. It wasn't my deal. I was more focused on the gameplay and just actually exploring everything and getting new upgrades and new equipment and being able to do new moves and figuring out how to wall jump and climb all over stuff. And the story was kind of just like second fiddle to everything else in my mind. And I think that's how it was designed. I'm glad it's there. And I think people that are looking for it will enjoy that 100%. And I think if I were to go back and replay it, that would probably be more of a focal point for me because I know what to expect to a certain extent now, as far as the gameplay goes. But for me personally, it just wasn't like, it's no Final Fantasy.
No, I feel like it's filler. I mean, they want you to know what's going on with the character, what's going on in the atmosphere that you have going on. It really is. It's that. It's just filler.
They give you just enough.
Yeah,
You
like
know, if
they're
you
not
want it, it's
gonna,
there.
they're not going to give you some epic grand scale story. I mean, yeah, they tried to do that in Other M, and it really hurt the franchise for a long time to where it was shelved.
Where does Fusion fit in?
Fusion is the last game in the series. If you're following canon, like if you look at Fusion would be the last one.
Because I got that, I think, for free on my 3DS as a download a while ago. I played a little bit of it, and I did enjoy it.
It's a good game, for sure, but it is more along the lines where you kind of have to get permission to use certain weapons and go into certain areas at certain points. I mean, it's not as hardcore like Other M was.
Right.
But...
And then, Zero Mission. So, which... Is that on Advance?
Yeah, GBA.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. Okay. I'll have to check that out for sure. You got anything else?
Excited for when Metroid Prime 4 finally comes out. It's been a long time since the series has been dormant, so I'm ready for something new.
Give us a teaser.
2 that came out for the 3DS has really put it back in the forefront again, so I'm really hoping that Nintendo starts to embrace this franchise again, because I feel like they've left it dormant for too long with a fan base that wants games.
Yeah, there was that sports type one that came out.
The Federation Force. I don't even acknowledge that as a Metroid game. No, thank you.
Man, that was
appreciate the attempt,
rough.
Nintendo, but no, that's not Metroid. That's garbage.
I mean, if you want to come out with something like that, fine, but at least have like a main title also announced and being like, "Hey, we're working on this," because they hadn't even mentioned Metroid Prime 4 at that point yet. They were just like, "Metroid Federation Force." Everybody was like, "What? What is this?"
And then luckily they redeemed themselves with saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, we're coming out with a remake of Metroid 2, and hey, by the way, it's going to come out like a month later. So here you go. You're welcome."
Yeah, Nintendo's got an interesting history with their decisions on marketing. Some really questionable choices. But you know what? I'd say for the most part they've not let me down, at least. And Metroid is no exception. So super excited to try other games in the series because I had such a blast with this one. Way more than I was expecting to. I thought I was going to have to force myself to get through it and finish it, and that was hardly the case. I actually got done and I was like, I can play this again.
I mean, this series spawned a whole genre. I mean, Metroidvania.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like so many other games have been based off of it.
Yep. You told me you're playing Symphony of the Night too.
Yep, which is like totally feels like Super Metroid playing it. I've never played it before, so I'm kind of in the same boat as you were with Super Metroid.
I want to go back and play that again because that had like experience and leveling up and stuff too. That's my jam. Cool. All right. Well, with that, thank you for coming, hanging out, and
great to be on here
talking Metroid. We'll have to do it again sometime because I want to get into the other games, and with Prime being so different, it's first person, right?
Yep.
I'd love to maybe like delve into that at some point and kind of go a little bit deeper than we did here. This was kind of just like a rough overview of what it's like as a veteran, what it's like as a newbie coming in. But thanks again for stopping by, and as always, keep on gaming.